Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 194, Clearing the Way. If you've listened to a few of my recent episodes, and thank you if that's the case, you'll have realised that I've devoted the month of October to the symbolism of harvesting and its associated activities. So far, we have gathered what we have grown, produced or made, sorted through or sorted out what we have gathered, and just last week we focused on sharing. So now we're approaching the end of our harvest month and the time has come for clearing. In this episode then, I'm talking about the myriad of ways that we can clear the way as introverts and why it's important. I am treating this as distinct from, but as a precursor to letting go, as that is the theme for our next month. For those of us involved in the intricate dance of ambition and introversion, this often overlooked practice of clearing can shape, define and illuminate the journey towards our desired outcomes. Clearing the way or the path is an art that can be practiced and refined, much like ensuring that a yard is tidied and free from the debris of harvest so that we can let things rest and recuperate before the next growing season. The metaphorical path or way clearing is a vital component in enabling introverts to show up authentically in their personal and professional worlds. So we might start by taking a look at what is left over after we've sorted and shared. I doubt that we will have shared things that are not of use to other people, but they might still need tidying away. Here are some of the things I do to put my garden to bed for the winter. As I'm sharing these, consider what they are analogous of for you, and I'll also share how I use these nudges in my clearing. Firstly, I lift the dahlia corms, as the wet and cold that we experience here in the UK, especially in our heavy clay soil, will damage those corms. I need to clean them off, check them over for any rot or damage, and then store them in the right conditions, which means dark and cool, but safe so that the mice don't feed on them during the winter. If I use that concept on myself, what am I rescuing and giving special treatment to over the next few months? Well, certainly my energy and my health. Because the reality is both have taken a bit of a battering and I can feel the damage before I even dust myself off. Just as my dahlias have given their all and put on a glorious show, so have I. And now? Well, now it's time for the energy to be returned and preserved in readiness for the next season. So the first thing I can choose to clear is, number one, my energy. And I need to do this through something that balances the body's energy centres, so something like yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi or free dance. Introverts are particularly attuned to their energy, both in terms of quality and level, I find. We are all too aware of when we have toxic energy that we've picked up from someone that we need to shift or clear out of our system. And we know when we need to recharge and maybe even recondition our batteries when they lose charge too quickly or fail to keep their charge. The second thing I do here is to start thinking about how I can clear my diet for better health. The changing of the season often marks the changing of foods I consume, just as my forefathers did. I think part of the problem these days is that we can have food flown around the world and no longer eat seasonally. I believe that adopting a cleaner and healthier diet can lead to increased physical and mental well-being. What I've noticed is that in turn, this can provide introverts with the energy and clarity they need to navigate their lives effectively. Personally, I rejoice in the fact that this is now the season for nourishing soups and stews. Let's take a trip back to my garden now, because now's the time to stake my Brussels sprout stalks. I know they're not everyone's favourite, but we love them. I stake the stalks so that the autumn and winter winds don't rock them and weaken their root system. Ironically, I too can get rocked, which can result in me feeling weakened and not properly grounded. I love that sense of being really connected through the earth and open to the skies above. Walking in nature works really well for me, whether it be in the woods or my absolute favourite, walking the seashore. And I have to work at prioritising both of those things, as my natural tendency is to get blown about a bit and then wonder why I'm feeling wobbly. Self-care is so important, and yet I have to be reminded to take downtime. So there are two things related to clearing for me here, and they are, third on a list of 10, clearing my schedule for self-care. We know as introverts that we need alone time to recharge, and for me that means intentionally clearing my schedule to make room for my preferred self-care activities. I enjoy time out reading, taking the long walks I've just mentioned, going for a massage, or spending time in companionable silence with a dear friend. I have to find time, and in some cases make time by saying no to something else, because otherwise there's just not enough time in the schedule. I can also, thinking about this as number 4 on the list of ways to clear, I can also clear my mind through meditation. I learned transcendental meditation many moons ago, and it's something that really appeals to my quiet nature. And I've also learned more recently through Laura Coleman, who was a guest on my podcast back in episode 15, that I don't necessarily need to spend 40 minutes doing Om. She joined me for an episode that we called The Ninja Secrets of an Introverted Meditator, and Laura shared some fantastic techniques, meaning that we can have meditation or mindful moments. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes for you. We know that clearing our minds through meditation helps many of us slow our racing minds, bring calmness to our overthinking, and achieve mental clarity. Meditation allows us to acknowledge our thoughts without judgment and gently release those thoughts, providing a sense of inner peace and tranquility. So what's not to love? Let's pop back to my garden again. I empty the big plant pots and wash them thoroughly, ready for the next season. If I'm lazy about this and just stack them up, I risk spreading disease. By the way, I love the notion of dis-ease, and as introverts we need to minimise our own dis-ease. Not that everything will be or needs to be easy or plain sailing, but let's not make life more challenging than it already is. I have a few rituals which make it more likely that I'm cleansed of what might harm me going forward. So let's look at a couple of those now. I think I have to start with 5 on our list of 10, clearing negative thoughts through journaling. Journaling can be a powerful tool for clearing negative thoughts and emotions. By putting our thoughts on paper, we gain clarity about our feelings and experiences, helping us better understand ourselves and work through challenges. Whether you choose the morning pages approach as popularised by Julia Cameron in her book The Artist's Way, or decide that you want to capture your thoughts through drawing or some other creative outlet, the intention is the same. It's about clearing your mind of clutter and addressing your inner thoughts and concerns first thing in the morning, so that you can free up mental space for creativity and problem solving throughout the day. It's a recognised way to bypass your inner critic and access deeper layers of your consciousness. That leads us nicely onto number 6 out of 10, clearing negative influences in relationships. We know that we prefer those deep and meaningful relationships. So a bit like cleaning the pots for next year, we benefit from clearing negative influences from our lives. These may be toxic friendships. I've cleared a fair few of those once I realised how much my please people driver was costing me. Or unhealthy family dynamics. Also, I've had a bit of that to clear. Or even clearing business relationships so that they are clean. I mentioned at the outset that clearing is not the same as letting go, and these relationships are case in point. Clearing the air can be essential for maintaining positive and fulfilling connections, and they allow introverts to nurture relationships that support their well-being. Back to my own situation, but moving away from my garden and into the house now, I put away my summer clothes and open-toed sandals and gleefully air my fleecy jumpers and warm boots ready for the changeable autumn days. And it's a time of layers still. Days can be bright and the sun surprisingly warm still, as it was this weekend, and the next day we have a heavy mist that leaves dewdrops that sit like jewels on the spiders' webs in the garden. Those webs really are a work of art. This is about intentionally changing so that I'm ready for the season ahead, and I find this to be an important ritual that marks a particular transition. And of course, we need to acknowledge all of those transitions as they are symbolic waypoints in our life. So what type of clearing helps here? Well, how about number 7 of 10, clearing for self-expression? We know we have rich inner worlds. It's what can lead to our overthinking. So clearing can be a means of self-expression, whether through art, music, writing, interpretive dance, or any other creative outlet. This type of clearing can be done at any time of the day and, unlike journaling, doesn't need to be a daily practice. By channeling our thoughts and emotions into these outlets, we find we have more opportunity to express and therefore share our unique perspectives with the world. This builds confidence, which then becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, which leads us on to number 8, clearing your space for creativity. And of course, I'm talking here about physical space and mental space. Clearing the mental space will involve some of the points we've already looked at. Clearing physical space by decluttering and organising can provide a serene backdrop for your creative pursuits of choice, whether that's writing, painting or crafting. A clean workspace can help introverts focus on their creative endeavours without distractions. This is required if we are to get into the state of flow, the concept introduced by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. This state of flow is when someone is so engrossed in what they're doing that they lose track of time and become completely immersed in the task at hand. I love being in flow. Now back to my situation. Because finally the leaves are just about hanging on the trees, though they are trembling more as the winds strengthen and change direction. Those leaves are now burnished to various hues of copper, gold and russet, so I marvel at their colours and drink in the beauty that surrounds me. This is a reminder to lift my head, raise my eyes and appreciate the gifts around me. There are gifts wherever we look, if only we pay attention to what is in front of us. And as I've alluded to, it won't be long before those leaves start to fall, reminding us that letting go is part of life's natural cycle. So here are 2 final types of clearing that help me in readiness for the next phase. Number 9, clearing the path for personal growth. When we are so wrapped up in things, we struggle to see the wood for the trees. In this context, clearing can be about making space for personal growth and development. What is it that you want to aim for or achieve, though? Being busy and too close to the trees obscures our vision, the vision we need to set our intentions. We need to have space to plan calmly, secure in the knowledge that, as Dwight D. Eisenhower said, plans are nothing, planning is everything. You see, with a good plan, we know how and where we can deviate, and the courage to deviate intentionally is a great leadership quality. And there's one thing that many of us could do with clearing that will ameliorate all of the others. And there's one final thing that many of us could do with clearing that will facilitate the success of all of the others. And that's, number 10, clearing digital clutter for focus. In our digital age, unsubscribing from lists that don't help us, deleting unnecessary emails, organising files, stopping the doom scroll and decluttering social media connections can create a more peaceful digital environment. Digital clearing enables me and other introverts like me to stay focused and maintain a sense of order in our online activities. Let's face it, we can't avoid the online world, so let's make it work for us. In this episode, I've shared 10 types of clearing with you, prompted by my seasonal clearing rituals. I'd love to know which of them calls to you and which you'll be actioning over the next week or so. You can always let me know by dropping me an email to joanna@flourishingintroverts.com, and of course you'll find me on all social platforms at Flourishing Introverts. And as Carl Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Welcome to the awakened and flourishing you. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.